Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh, yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Whoa, I got crazy hair this morning. I told you I was running behind. I thought I brushed my hair, but that really doesn't look like it, does it? Well, that's all right. Oh, okay. Got the Christmas lights on, though. I'm running behind. I feel like I've been a bit behind, actually, ever since I went to a bar yesterday late after I had a wonderful discussion with Brianna about storytelling and the stories, and I made more progress on the Tales of Rabavania, and then I immediately said I got to use those notes that I took while it's fresh in my mind, so I went to a bar and sat there with my index cards and made even more progress on that story, and that's core creative time. So I hit all of my core creative time yesterday, and so that was great. Oh, look, here's this. Probably won't help. I hit all of my core creative time yesterday. Then I came back. We did the pilot, the first try of the video game show. Yeah, it didn't help. Yesterday. That was a lot of fun. And then I slept like a rock and I got behind. So I got to think about how we're doing some things tonight. I'm not sure what we're doing tonight. And I don't think I'm going to be ready to pilot dinner and a board game on Friday. I'm way too behind. I want to. That's one of our mainstay shows. So it might be another week before I do a pilot, a dinner, and a board game, which means I need to think of something for tonight and something for Friday. So I'm thinking about all that. I need some serious computer time all day today to move forward on a bunch of things like that. So that's what's going on. Today's topic is the world of Aetaltis. Oh, I was going to say hi to everybody in the chat. So, hey, Innerlight. Yep, this one is a really good one. In fact, there's one other book I want to grab from over here in order to share, because I think he's done a really unique job building this world. So there we go. We'll look at that book too right there. And good morning, good morning, good morning. So the Nose Play says, settling down with a cup of tea at work. Work mornings usually make it easier for me to listen while I start my day. Well, I'm very glad to have you. Very glad to have you. Seems like listening at work would be a very great way for lots of people to enjoy the morning grind. The Nose Plays, I watched the whole Faded Edge video yesterday. I like it, man. Get your core ideas you want on paper and build around them. That was my thinking too. Glad you like it. Glad you like it. We'll see where it goes from there. But that's where I'm starting. Good morning, Stray. And then Inner Light says, sleeping like a rock is sometimes good, and it means you're getting stuff done and learning things. Yep. I hope so. Okay. Okay, so on Wednesdays, I'm trying to get a schedule here going. So on Wednesdays, it's World Building Wednesdays, which means we'll be building some of our own worlds, but also it's probably a good opportunity, especially today since I don't have stuff for my worlds going on, to take a look at another world that's existing. And we have looked at Thrones and Bones. That was done by Lou Anders. But this one is also a 5th edition world. So this is our second look at a campaign setting. And this is the world of Aetaltis. And it's created by Mark Tassin. And I did interview him. There's an interview with the creator up on this channel. I did on Table Talk. So if you Table Talk, that was the name of the show. So if you look up Mark Tassin, he is the creator of this. And we talked about stuff in general about the world. But now I want to actually look at the books that he produced and what the world is. So we are going to be doing that here. And one of the things we got to do, one of the first things, is figure out what the difference is between, he put out this Game Master's Guide, thick book, Adventurer's Guide, thick book, and Player's Guide, thick book, right, for this world. So we're going to figure out what the difference is between them and where we need to start. Now, I don't think this was the first publication either, but he also... I think there was a Dungeons and Dragons adventure that was actually first. I think he told me that on the interview, but this may have been like the second publication. Very early on, he actually got together a group of authors to put together a bunch of short stories. This is an anthology that Mark Tassin edited about short stories in the world of Aetaltis. So he got world building done by doing short stories set in the world. And this is actually a signed copy. All the different authors signed under their name. Signed under their name, like here, the Undercity Job. Got it signed. This was a special Kickstarter exclusive kind. I don't know if it's Kickstarter exclusive, but I think I got it on Kickstarter. Mark wrote the introduction, but I thought this was really cool. Looking at different names in here, he did write one of the stories as well. But page 25. Ed Greenwood. Ed Greenwood wrote one of the Aetaltis stories for him. And I'm sure I've read this, but I don't remember what it is. My Doom May Come Soon by Ed Greenwood. So, and I saw that there were different quotes and review things by Ed Greenwood on the Aetaltis website. All right. Gee. Well, let's breathe. Breathe. And sip. All right, and let's go to the morning messages. I had to change them up again. I'm about to have to change them up one more time. I did have a fantastic talk with World Anvil yesterday. That was another thing that happened. But that means we're going to have to adjust some things with the messages again. But it's World Building Wednesdays, so we're going to put them out there. The cult What happened? What happened? Maybe. I mean, I play the morning messages. I'm like, wait a minute, I can go over here to the sink and water on my hair. And then all of a sudden I hear who knows what was going on with the morning messages. So and it didn't work. And then I had my browser crashed by the time I got back. So, okay, you're batting 1,000 this morning. Oh, well, let's just start over anyway. Okay. So maybe. Don't know what happened. I think it may have been a browser crash or something. I actually think that my browser hung up. Of course, it does that when I walk out of the room. Okay. Anyway, let's get to World of Aetaltis. So, like I said, the first thing that I want to look at is which one of these rule books we'd be looking at anyway. Because we've got the Player's Guide, the Adventurer's Guide, and the Game Master's Guide. Now, I think this is one of those situations that Lou has also worked with and that I like, in that they separate out the Player's Guide. Now, if I'm right, I could be wrong at this, but like in Lou's case, I know that he does a dedicated Player's Guide that doesn't have new information in it. And of course, some people are critical of that. Because they're like, hey, wait a minute, don't I want new information except for it's the intention of the Player's Guide have everything in it that the players would need, but none of the like spoilers or things like that the Game Master's Guide would have. So, the Player's Guide is something that you can give to the players or the players can buy, and you don't have to worry about them running into any type of like spoiler for any part of the world or the campaign world or anything like that. So we've got the Player's Guide. It says This is all designed for use with 5th edition. And Aetaltis, you'll unlock a setting that rekindles the fire of classic heroic fantasy game worlds. It's everything that made fantasy RPGs such an incredible phenomenon, reimagined and refreshed for today's gamers. So the World of Aetaltis Player's Guide includes everything you need to make a character for a World of Aetaltis game, as well as the Aetaltis rules you'll need at the table over the course of your adventures. Inside, you'll find 7 new lineages, cultures, callings, and finishing touches, heroic character classes, new points-based magic system, and more. So, okay, let's move that one aside, because we could talk about character creation. We're talking about world building, but generally, we have been staying away from character creation as of yet. So then we have the Adventurer's Guide. So looking on the back of that, what does this say? The Adventurer's Guide is a book of wonders originally commissioned by none other than the High Lord of Drakewyn of Agthor himself, and assembled by a dedicated team of veteran scholars from the Royal College of New Aranor. That's right. This is an in-universe book. I forgot about that. So this is an in-universe book. They created this landmark work to aid novice adventurers as they set out to fight the forces of darkness and build their legends. In this complete reproduction of that invaluable task, you will discover a complete history of the world, discover the marvelous history of Aetaltis, adventuring in civilized lands, delve into detailed descriptions of the Amethyst Sea's basin's great power, and know you will not go unprepared when your quests take you to strange and distant countries. Adventuring in the wilds. Venture forewarned into the wild places of the world thanks to rich examinations of Aetaltan outlands. Forces of darkness. Cringe as you read fantastic descriptions of the horrors that await you when you plunge into territory. Metaphysical wonders. Unlock the secrets of the cosmos as you learn the metaphysics behind the powers of magic. Commentary. Find wisdom in the sage advice from a bevy of expert commentators. So actually, we might want to look at this one, because this one, I suppose, is all about the world and written in an in-universe fashion. And I'm a fan of writing things in an in-universe fashion. For Journey to the Tree of Sorrows, and I have plans for Ravivania and Theophany as well. So that's really interesting. This one, then, the Game Master's Guide. All 3 of these books came out at the same time. They were all part of the same Kickstarter, so I know it took him quite a bit to create all of these. The company by the name is a Mechanical Muse. So Mechanical Muse is the publishing company that Mark set up to publish these books. But if you look up the World of Aetaltis, you'll find it. The World of Aetaltis Game Master's Guide contains Game Master needs to turn 5th edition World of Aetaltis into legendary campaigns. It's third in the series of world books. The third in the series of world of Aetaltis core books, along with the World of Aetaltis Adventurer's Guide and the World of Aetaltis Player's Guide. Inside here, we will find secret Game Master info, accurate timeline covering thousands of years of Aetaltis history, a geographically accurate version of the setting map, and a host of secrets. Okay, now I like this. Well, we'd be having all kinds of problems today, Trey. I felt wrong-footed this morning because I was behind schedule and trying to get things to work, and then apparently we had some corruption of the morning messages, and my hair was off and is off today, so lots of things going on today. There were. I don't know what. I think my browser crashed. I think we're going good now. I think we're going good as we're live now. I feel like I'm in sync now. So inside here is secret Game Master info, minions and monsters, expand new options for hauntings, magic corruption, goodwill, character resolve, skill specialization, investment, and more. Forbidden magic, divine magic, and toolbox of wonders. Okay, so it kind of looks like, well, when we were talking about what's the least that we could do in order to create a world, or what's the most we could do. I mean, this is a really cool set of 3 books, but this is a lot of work, and I know it was the Kickstarter took a long time to fill, because creating all 3 of these books took so much time. So this is kind of like an ideal world. What could you possibly do to world? Well, I mean, 3 world books like this would definitely be it. Let's take a look at the Adventurer's Guide first. World of Aetaltis Adventurer's Guide, and at least just see what is in there. Because we don't have a systematic way of looking at worlds yet, like we've kind of developed for looking at RPGs. But okay, so in this book, as far as the contents go, Chapter 1, History of the Known World. But the cool part is, I suppose this is also something that the players can reference. This would be History of the Known World in an universe way, and the Game Master's Guide has the definitive, out of the universe, actual history of the world, so the Game Master can reference exactly what was going on. And this is what everybody thinks is going on. Good morning, Ryan. Good to have you. Good to have you. Spells, magic, and essence. Now, like we saw that in one of the guides, I believe the Adventurer's Guide. There is points-based magic system in here. We might want to look at that too, because he did change up the basic Dungeons and Dragons magic system. Religion and the afterlife, on adventuring in civilized lands, on adventuring in the wild forces of other dangers. So let's just see what this looks like. So this is like the warning guide for adventurers. And again, the production value here again, I mean, he pulled out all the stops as far as his layout goes and the art goes. It's like that. So really respect doing all three of these books to this standard. Aetaltis is not the name given to the world by the Inaros, but rather it is the Aetalan name for the world. Each of the lineages and cult from Aetaltis have different names for the planet, but since Aetaltis is the name used in the Codex Historica, we've chosen to use it here as well. I really like this Bordeaux tapestry like design he's got on down here. That's really cool. I wonder how he did that. I wonder if it was created physically. So this is all history of the world, the gift of magic. I kind of feel like we should take a look at his magic system. The idea here, he didn't want to introduce like a bunch of new stuff. This is deliberately there. This is a world of elves and dwarves, and all the classic fantasy kind of stuff. But like I said, he's like, all right, all the stuff that we really loved from kind of like the original D&D kind of stuff, or all right, let's bring this and make it more modern. So this is all, God, I really like that. So this is an in-universe text. Let's review the player's guide. So this is the Game Master's Guide. Let me come over here and go to the player's guide and see what it has to do with magic and see how this is structured. So if you wanted to play in this world, let's take a look at that. Right here. What kind of things should I be thinking about for creating a world? What's necessary? Well, this is one of the. So here's the player's guide, World of Aetaltis player's guide. This one may have the magic in it. So we've got, now, see, he separates out, okay, I guess this is a good book to go through here, because we've got character creation, and he separates out lineage from culture, which I think is a great idea. And we've talked about that, I think, in a couple of different places on this stream as well, that it seems like in ancient days, right, we used to have subclasses, like, okay, we've got dwarf, but then we've got subclasses of dwarf, like the hill dwarf or the whatever other kind of dwarf, deep dwarf or whatever. And they called them sub races, but really it was trying to kind of combine or try to handle dealing with two different things. Like, is elf, how much difference is there among different kinds of elves in a game world? Well, potentially a lot, right? And if you just say elf, well, okay, that may tell you what you are biologically, but it's not telling you something about your cultural background. So I'm thinking like in Middle Earth, well, first of all, there are different types of elves as far as that are physically different, as far as whether they have been to, whether they have seen the light of the Valinor or come back or never gone or things like that. So we do have some variations in actual, biologic power. But then, are you an elf of Mirkwood or are you an elf of Lorien? I would at least want to make those distinctions. It doesn't make sense to do that as a subclass. Instead, to me, it makes a lot of sense to have a separate thing that is your culture. Okay, so you are, and then you apply either Lothlorien or Mirkwood if you're adventuring at the time of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I want to do something like that. We talked about that with Faded Edge because that's where I was like, you are a, you could be I didn't talk about species there, but you could throw that in as well on Faded Edge. I am a mighty elf warrior from Mirkwood. Okay, and that would be different from a mighty elf warrior from Lothlorien, even though both of them are mighty elf warriors. So I think this is something that a lot of people are moving toward now, and separating out the biological component. He's calling that lineage here, whether you want to call that race, whether you want to call that species, whatever you want to call that, but separating out lineage from culture, I really like. I have the Game Master's Guide up on the screen. God. Thank you. And this is not a good morning. What is going on? We're having all kinds of problems. Some days are just like this. Okay, so here is the player's guide. No, the player's guide's still not up on screen. God. What a day. So the World of Aetaltis Player's Guide, what I was talking about when I was talking about all those things was I was just looking at right here, because he's got lineage and then culture as well. So that was all I was looking at right here in the in this guide. I would say the feeling of this setting is well, are we talking about high fantasy or are we talking about epic fantasy? I wonder how he would describe it. How I would use those terms, I think it is epic. When I read some of the stories and things like that, the dwarves do have quite a bit of mechanical knowledge. They've got these ships that go over the the sea of grass, right? So they're actually using some type of giant kind of ship that has a naval feel, but it's going over a big grass plain. So I would say that there's a lot of there's mythology. I would say that, so I would call it high. I think it would be a high fantasy world, depending on how people define those. But I think I would consider this a high fantasy world, and I think he's going for epic fantasy kinds of adventures, updated. Thank you for letting me know. Sounds glitchy. See, there's nothing else on my end, but yet I've had a browser crash, maybe the corruption of the video, got the wrong thing up, hair was wrong, man, don't know. It looks like everything is normal on my side, meaning that going through the internet here, out in the country. I'm just pleased. This is day 46, and we've had this little amount of technical problems as we've had. The audio is repeating itself. Well, let me look. Just one moment. Testing. That all looks normal. It's a little Max Headroom style, but usually just a word. Oh, okay. Thank you, Andrew. So tried the stream Twitch, and it's the same thing. The Twitch stream and the same issue there. So it must be something about going out on this side. Just make sure we got is plugged in correctly. You never just have one problem. When you have a problem, you've got all problems. Well, I don't know. No. That's a good way to describe it. I don't know what else to try. Unless I just try to log out and log back in. Let me try that and try to log back in and see if that helps. Hopefully the stream was going to stay up. I've done this before. Well, although the browser did crash, and then I was able to re-enter the same stream. So give me just a moment, and I will see if I can leave and then. Testing. That's good to know that I can leave and then come back if I need to and readjust. So that. So we'll just see. We'll move forward. So, all right. So we were just talking about culture and lineage. We were going to try to look at well, we should see what the difference is between lineage and culture and what culture does for you. Now I'm kind of curious about all of this. So, okay. So lineages. Oh, tell me what culture is here. But lineages, it says, aka races. Aetaltis features most of the traditional fantasy role-playing lineages you'd expect, including elves, dwarves, halflings, and humans. It also introduces new lineages such as fearsome Drothmals, brutish Orogs, magical sprites, flighty fairies, otherworldly Newerden, clever Chibats, and Saurian Scythas. The backstory of the world can provide ample opportunity to use your 5th edition fantasy lineages in a way that fits easily into the story and setting. That doesn't tell me what the difference is with culture, though. Okay. Definitely some sound issues, but they're minor for me, like a record skip. Okay, well, we're just going to keep going then. Like I said, I'm surprised that with the country internet that I have right here, that in the past, this is day 46 that we had as minor technical issues over the entire spread of 46 episodes that we've had. So we'll just keep. Thank you for hanging with me. Okay, but I want to know. The art is so colorful. The art is so colorful. I want to know the difference, what exactly the culture gives you that the lineage does not. Okay, so we know lineage is that. Choose your culture. Okay, let's see what it says here. In this step, you'll choose your character's culture. Your culture represents how and often where you were raised. It's the foundation of your values, desires, and personality. It also sets the stage for how you think about other cultures, the things you find attractive or offensive, and even your loyalties. Note that we didn't say culture determines these things. It's just how you were raised. Because you were brought up in a culture doesn't mean you bought into everything that you were told. Do you take pride in your culture's traditions and values? Are you proud to emerge from such an honorable or ancient people? Or do you reject some or even all of the things expected of you? Select your culture and determine which of the ideals and teachings you embrace or rejected to help shape your character's story. That in chapter 3. Okay. So that gets us a little bit more information. So let's go down. Again, so much art that was commissioned for this, and beautiful art. Not only, all the writing and stuff, but here. So we've got, lineage, male, female. That's pretty classic, right? Heights and weights, heights, starting age, and weight for all of our lineages here. That looks pretty cool. I guess that's like the SAR. So Atlan is human. Chibat. Huh. Drothmal. Is this like a half orc maybe? Drothmal stand 7 feet tall and weigh just over 300 pounds. Their faces have faintly feline appearance, giving them an animalistic air. Skin color ranges from deep tan to white grayish blue. Drothmals have thick hides and intricate patterns of spots and marks in their forehead down to the small of their backs. Drothmals reach maturity at 10 and live to be about 50 years old. Dwarf? Elf? Here is the. So fairies look strikingly similar to elves, except they are only 1.5 tall and weigh just over 5 pounds. In addition, fairies have fragile, iridescent wings protruding from near their shoulder blades. Their skin, hair, and eyes can be any color, any combination, though hues of hair and skin are often harmonious. Fairies maturity at the age of 15 and are known to live as long as 100 years. I might try playing one of those. There were the fairy race, but it's not called fairies, and now today I'm not going to be able to call the name of it. The Lion or something like that was in GURPS Fantasy Folk that I always wanted to play. I thought that would be cool. So actually, I might even try playing one of these fairies if I were playing an Aetaltis. What do you get for this? -2 plus -2 strength, +2 dexterity, -2 constitution, +2 charisma. Ability score requirements can't be higher than 10 in strength, can't be higher than con 12. Can't be lower than 12 in dex or lower than 12 in charisma. I suppose that is. I haven't seen that in a lot. So this is telling us, I suppose that's minimum and minimum scores. Feet, size tiny. Got our age here. Fairies struggle to use skills that require deep concentration. When you make a saving throw to maintain concentration, you have disadvantage. Your tendency to become distracted has a secondary effect, which is whenever combat begins, you are positioned beside a randomly determined ally. Huh. Fairy size is expensive and difficult to find, but fairy size means that they eat less food and drink less water. Tiny creature. Weapons and armor cost 4 times if made by a creature larger than tiny. Magical equipment is not automatically sized to fit unless it was made for a tiny creature. You only need 1/4 of the food and water medium creatures require. Potions and magical consumables still affect you normally. Halfling. Well, maybe that's what we're having here, Light. Solar flare activity is very active right now. It's affecting a lot of electrical things, so also maybe somewhat responsible for the major storm going over Canada right now. We're just gonna let's go with that. That right now we got solar flares, and that's what's happening today. That's what's causing the disruption. 5 pounds. It seems like a lot of creative thinking about supplies and encumbrance. Probably so, but I think it would be fun to play. Not to mention the logistics of combat with any little fellow. How much gold can they carry? Not very much, right? Not very much. But, I think it would be an interesting, assuming you have other people with you. Well, it could be interesting to do an all kind of fairy campaign too. But I think I would definitely try it. In fact, this guy looks pretty cool. Like what I would, be a fairy warrior, like a fairy knight or something like that. I would totally try that out. Looking for an opportunity to play a character like that. And if we were doing more session by session games, then why not? Here's your opportunity to play a fairy. And if doing more games, I could definitely, or at least I would ask if Mark would want to run a game, that's session focused, and maybe then I could try it out. Orog, this looks like troll-like. Yep. Satha, pretty cool. It would also be pretty neat to play one of those. Sprite. So what is the difference between the sprite and the fairy? Oh, so sprites are much larger. Sprites are just under 4 feet tall and weigh 45 pounds. Their skin, hair, and eye color reflect the environment in which they were born. Most sprites have horns or antlers. These bud when the sprite reaches maturity and grow to their full size within 3 years. Sprites reach maturity over the age of 10 and up to 100 years. 200 years. See, now I'm also a fan of this book because, like I said, he's trying to revitalize classic fantasy, classic role-playing fantasy, and revitalize it with these books. And it does interest me. It interests me. I played out of the Dungeons and Dragons handbook for a long time, and I think that's what he's going for. If you I don't like elves and dwarves and stuff like that. I like classic fantasy kinds of stuff. but I've been playing with the player's handbook for a long time. So it might be fun to try this out. And immediately I'm seeing some new kinds of characters that, like, yeah, man, I would like to try that out. God, look at this art. Cool. Okay, so now let's see what's going on with culture here. So what exactly does that get us? So common culture by lineage. Chibat, Drothmal, Dwarf, and then this is our typical cultures over here. So these are going to be our cultures. So what is re-entries? Culture descriptions include the following information. Summary, a short summary of the culture. Overview. This call-out box provides a brief overview of the culture and its notable traits. Geographic origin, where the people of this culture tend to live. In a few cases, the culture has no single geographic origin. Typically, non-geographic cultures exist in small pockets inside the territory of other cultures. Oh. This looks really interesting. I'd like to play that actually. Go back up to the Newardian lineage. Okay, can do. Wait, where do I find that? What was that? Okay, yeah, let's find out what this thing is. That sounds cool. Okay, so a Newardian are tall and thin, averaging 6 feet in height and weighing 150 pounds. Compared to humans, their limbs are overly long in proportion to their torso. They have 3 fingers and an opposable thumb on each hand and 4 toes on each foot. Their faces look vaguely human, but their features have subdued almost to the point of non-existence. The exceptions are their eyes, which are overly large and solid black. Newardian of the noble caste sometimes have gold or silver flecks in their eyes. Newardian have hairless, smooth, pale skin ranging from color from stark white to blue-gray. So the first Newardian settlers were the Gate Weavers. They activated and operated the magical gates that allowed the Atlan Alliance to travel from worlds to Aetaltis. As the Alliance rose in power, the number of Newardian in the region increased as well. Along with the Gate Weavers came Newardian colonists who assisted in the construction of the Alliance colonies on Aetaltis. Shortly after the cataclysm, the majority of the surviving retreated from the lands surrounding the Amethyst Sea and journeyed to distant lands on the far side of the Blade Sea. There they established the reclusive Newardian empires. So you get +3 intelligence, and you got to have a minimum intelligence of at least 12. Speed 30 feet minimum. Ages in here. Newardians have deeply analytical minds. They easily spot connections others miss and quickly spot logical patterns in the world around them. You have advantage on intelligence investigation checks. Complex mind. Newardian minds are highly complex to decipher. You have advantage on saving throws against mind-affecting spells and effects. Exceptional at learning new languages. You begin the game with the ability to speak and, if appropriate, read and write 1 additional language. You are resistant to poison and disease. Visualization. By meditating on a task, a Newardian can improve their chances of succeeding. If you are able to meditate undisturbed on a specific task for 1 minute, you may roll 1d4 and add the result to an ability check related to that task made after the meditation period. Well, that's pretty cool. Might be fun to play one of those too. Lots of cool stuff to play. Yeah, so yeah, I'll play the fairy, and you can take out the Newardian for a spin. Somebody will want to play the sprite too, I bet. So going back to culture, we end up with, it also tells us the most common lineages found with members of this culture, form of language and dialect, literacy, patron and secondary Iranos. The Iranos are commonly worshipped in this culture. Virtues and vices, good and bad traits, common among people of this culture. Values, ideas, things, and people in this culture tend to avoid. I like this structure too. This structure is something to be adapted for writing out worlds, I think. Because I was trying to think my purposes in looking at different worlds was how do information do other people include for building out a new world. So this is fantastic information, and so organized very well, I think. Favored, avoided cultures outside of their own that members of this culture are especially comfortable around, avoid. For cultures not listed here, opinion is neutral. Public opinion, a generalized description of how members of other cultures perceive members of this culture. Manner, a summary of the common behaviors and mannerisms from people this culture exhibit. Appearance, language and literacy, art and music, food and drink. Homes, the style appearance of the typical home. Virtues, vices, an expanded discussion of the culture's typical virtues and vices. Expanded description of values and aversions, and rights and responsibilities. Tips about particular rights members believe they are entitled to, and information about the responses expected of a person in this culture. Oh, wow. God, look at all this. Custom, name, religion, magic, the way arcane magic and spell casting is viewed. How the culture deals with members becoming adventurers. Unusual customs, traits, and taboos. Tool proficiencies. Languages. Specialization. Equipment. If you're using the rules for basic starting equipment, the character of this culture begins the game with the listed gear. And then wealth die. The die added to the dice pool you are rolling for stealth and buying equipment. That's a lot. So here's an example. So here's the C, and that this book right wherever it went, the storybook, the collection of the it's not a collection, it's a anthology stories took place around this sea as well. Looks like an asteroid hit. So here we'd have Agorthin right there. Manner, appearance, language, literacy, art, music, food, drink. Basic overview of rights, responsibilities, customs. That's cool. So it's not quite as it doesn't, well, it does have, so some of the languages and starting equipment. That, look at that dog. Cool art. So it does have some influence on your stats, like your wealth stats and things like that. But for the most part, this is, oh, nice hobbits or halflings. Deeplander. Let's just take a look and see what he's doing with the magic system here, because he did change that up. We do have backgrounds. He's got new backgrounds. He's got callings. He's got classes. Okay, overview of chapter 9, 159. All right, magic 159. Oh, equipment. Getting closer. Okay, so here we are. Magic and spells. Again, oh, that's a fantastic. He commissioned such fantastic art for this. Okay, so overview of magic in this world. Magic on Aetaltis, especially arcane magic, works in a slightly different fashion than in other 5th edition settings. The fundamentals are the same, and the spells found in 5th edition sourcebook are fully compatible, but we've made some additions to the magic system to better reflect the nature of Atlantean magic. It's a system you can easily layer on top of the basic 5th edition magic rules. Arcane magic in Aetaltis uses a spell point system. Every character has a store of personal essence, and those characters with the talent and skill to manipulate that essence can use it to cast spells. Once a spellcaster's personal essence is expended, they must wait for the ambient essence around them to restore their supply of personal essence before they can cast more spells. To cast a spell, an arcane caster spends the appropriate number of essence points and then makes a spell casting roll. On a success, the spell goes off. On a failure, it doesn't. On a critical failure, however, a catastrophic spell failure occurs, leading to a variety of potentially dangerous outcomes. Divine magic, on the other hand, works as written in basic 5th edition rules. It's safe, straightforward, and reliable, if a bit restrictive. We won't go into a lot of detail about the setting aspects of magic, such as the metaphysics of how spells work or the origins of magic. Rather, this book will stay focused on the 5th edition game rules you need to know in order to play the game. For a complete description of how magic works within the context of the setting, see the Adventurer's Guide, Chapter 2, Spells, Magic Spells and Essence, because that's the in-universe explanation that works. Yeah, this is a really cool book. Inner Light says, this is a really, really cool book. Get to my buy list if there are any more of them. I know it's still available as PDF, but I would guess there are still hardback books available as well. So the Ritual of Limitation. We started a few minutes late today, and we've had some problems, but so we'll get through magic at least before we wrap up. So the Ritual of Limitation, an event described in the Adventurer's Guide, fundamentally changed the way magic worked in Aetaltis. The following guides will help you determine how or if a particular spell, magic, or item for the 5th edition will work in Aetaltis. The game master makes the final determination about whether a magical effect still works in their campaign. Oh, interesting. Okay, so in Aetaltis, there is no teleportation. Spells that move people, objects, or creatures from place to place without passing through physical do not work on Aetaltis. This includes moving yourself, moving others, or bringing objects to. Examples include the teleport and dimensional door spells. People on Aetaltis still know how to cast these spells, but the spells just don't work. Okay, that's interesting. No summoning. You cannot summon creatures or objects from other planes. Similarly, spells that banish creatures do not work since it's impossible to send a creature away from the physical plane. A notable fantasy gaming exception are elementals. Elementals exist in the world of Aetaltis, and you can summon them, but they are not extra-dimensional beings. See the World of Aetaltis Adventurer's Guide for more information on the nature of Aetaltian elementals. No gates or dimensional travel. Spells that open gates to other dimensions or transport you to other planes do not work. This applies to even minor spells like Dimensional Door. The exception is travel to the essential plane, since it's not actually a plane, but a rather unseen aspect of the physical plane. No long-distance communication. Now, by eliminating some of these, we are eliminating some of the problems that are associated with the greater world-building aspect. So no long-distance communication. Spells that allow person-to-person communication or remote perception still work, but are limited to line of sight or to the spell's range, whichever is shorter. If the target of a communication spell is hidden or beyond line of sight, it doesn't work. Limited detection. So if the max range for a detection spell is greater than 60 feet, treat the spell as if it had a 60-foot range. The maximum range for a detection spell is 60 feet. When detecting a target within the range and line of sight, the spell works as written. When detecting a target but not visible, such as using detect magic when the magic item is in a chest, the spell reveals that a target exists somewhere within 60 feet, but no additional information is provided. Normal rules for material that blocks these spells apply. Okay, new attribute. Every living thing on Aetaltis, sentient or not, spellcaster or otherwise, has an essence point score. This score represents the living thing's store personal essence. If you're an arcane spellcaster, you may expend these points to cast spells, magic runes. Glyph magic rule. I wonder if I'm going to like this better than the 5th edition spells for rules for arcane casting. Of course, it's not really that complicated, but it requires the most amount of thinking because it has the most amount of levels attached to it. As far as levels, you've got to go because there spells that are known that are in your spell book, right? And then spells that you have prepared and are able to cast. And then here is your spells per day at a certain level that you can go. There are 3 different things to keep track of there. And I think that's one reason why people, especially starting out, might not want to be arcane cast, because it's it requires thinking through a few different levels of what kind of spells you have access to. If this simplifies that, I might be all about it. We will see. So the table below shows your maximum essence points, your rate of essence point recovery, and the maximum spell level you can cast if you are an arcane caster. So hit a level or hit die. So let's look over here. So level, hit die. Okay, maximum essence points, rate of recovery, and maximum safe spell level. Maximum essence points, the number of essence points the subject can have, the rate at which the subject expended essence points returns, maximum safe level, the maximum level of spell an arcane cast safely cast at this level. So maximum safe level spell. Well, maybe something higher, but maybe it's not safe. We will see. You recover a number of essence points each hour in game time, not real play world hours, based on your level as shown in the essence points. Recovery is automatic, ongoing, and does not require rest. So you're getting level 1 per 2 hour. At level 2, 1 per hour. Level 3, 2 an hour. At level 5, you jump up to 3 an hour. So we're not having to. It's not based on okay. Now do the long rest. Coming back slowly. Drive-through. We got information here. Inner Light says Drive-through has it in standard hardback print on demand. Inner Light says, yeah, this is great. So it's definitely not Forgotten Realms, where magic can do everything technology can do plus more. Right. Not. Inner Light says, I'm interested in playing an Arcane Caster 2. New Orleans looks like they're all about spell casting. They probably are. They might have been the ones. Didn't they talk about having gates and things like that? So it said that dimensional doors and gates don't work now, but it doesn't say they didn't work. They didn't work to look up the history of the world. But New Orleans spellcaster sounds like it would be perfect, and they might have been the ones who had the secrets of the gates in ages past. So I like that. I like that. I like it so far. So glyph magic is a point-based system that replaces this stuff. Okay, so, but if something isn't covered here, replace it with standard 5th edition rules. So spell casting checks. Casting a spell with a glyph magic requires that you build an essence form of a glyph. When additional essence is directed to this glyph, the glyph's form shapes the essence, thereby creating a magical effect. Learning to successfully create glyphs and direct essence through them requires a natural affinity for sensing essence and years of intense training. Each time you use a glyph magic to cast a spell, you must make a spell casting. So your spell casting DC is equal to 10 plus unmodified essence point cost of the spell. Make the check at the end of the spell's casting time. On a success, the spell is cast and takes effect normally. On a failure, the spell fizzles and the attempt is dead. Either way, reduce your essence points by essence point cost of the spell. So even if you fail, you have to pay your essence points. Here's the short difference between these things. Spell point system. It limits the number of spells you can cast by giving you a pool of magic to spend rather than a number of slots. Each spell has a spell point cost to cast, and when you are out of spell points, casting additional spells becomes extremely difficult or impossible. Spell points in these rules are called essence points because they are used for more than just spells. No memorization. An arcane spellcaster does not need to memorize spells in advance. As long as the spell has been scribed into their spell book and they have enough essence points, they can try to cast it. To me, that's good. That eliminates one level that I was talking about with arcane spellcasters that you got to keep track of when you're trying to play one. I think I would prefer this. Skill to reflect the complexity of casting arcane spells. In Aetaltis, casting a spell with glyph magic requires a spell casting check. This roll doubles as the attack roll. This roll doubles as the attack roll when one is necessary. Okay. The DC to resist spell is calculated as described in the standard rules. Recovery is constant. Arcane spellcasters recover a set number of essence points per hour. Rest is not required to recover essence points. No spell level limit. There is no limit on the level of spell you may try to cast. There's only limit on what spell level you can safely cast. I like this. A first level character could, in theory, try to cast a 9th level spell. Even so, succeeding in a spell casting check is unlikely, and the essence point cost of casting such a mighty spell might prove deadly. See overcasting for more details. The Fae. In the Aetaltis setting, the Fae are part of a civilized people in the Amethyst. They are not affected by standard 5th edition spells, and that call out Fae as a type creature they affect, such as dispel evil and good. Okay. So they are part of the civilized people. They're not affected as the Fae creature type. Okay. Your bonus when making casting check is equal to your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus, if applicable, for your class. Wizards gain the proficiency bonus, but not all classes that cast arcane spells gain their proficiency bonus on spellcasting checks. The rules for the spellcasting classes will describe what ability it uses and so forth. Okay, advantage and disadvantage on casting checks. With the GM's permission, positive circumstances might provide an additional advantage when casting a spell. Examples include referencing your spell book when casting the spell. Makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense to me. Using particularly rare or especially high quality material components. Doubling the time required to cast the spell. I like that. I like the spell casting system. Negatives that might cause you to have disadvantage when the spell is cast include casting without your arcane focus, casting a spell when adjacent to an enemy. Makes sense to me. Makes sense. Casting a spell when mounted or on a moving platform, using substandard, damaged, or inappropriate as material components. I think that being able to increase the quality of your spellcasting components, or if you're having to scavenge because you've lost stuff and you're having to use damaged or inappropriate substances, you might still be able to do it, but it's gonna be more difficult. Casting a spell when you don't have enough essence points cost. Casting a spell that is higher level than your maximum safe spell level. If you roll a 20 on your spellcasting check, so we get critical success for spellcasting, I think that would be great because, the warriors, when you addition, get to, have a critical hit on their sword strike. Why don't the wizards and their arcane casters get to have a critical hit on their magic? So if you roll your spellcasting check, it's a critical success. 1, it's a critical failure. When you roll a critical success to cast a spell, the essence point cost for the spell is halved. Okay? If you roll a critical failure when casting the spell, you pay the standard essence point cost. Then roll a mishaps table. When a spell mishaps, so a critical success is okay, you get it at a reduced cost. Because it doesn't have to be a combat spell. We got a D100 mishap spell, right? This means if you had cast the spell and add essence point cost to the spell roll. This means if you would cast a spell in a way that costs twice the normal essence points, add the doubled value to the roll. If no duration is listed for the mishap, the effect is permanent. The effect of remove, curse, or dispel magic might remove it with the game master's permission. Many of these represent fundamental changes to the aspect of reality, and so that would make it truly permanent. Let's just take a look. The air fills with the smell of burnt hair. A tiny, sweet-smelling puff of purple smoke shoots from your fingertips. A streak of white appears in your hair. If you have no hair, a giant white blotch appears on your face. The spell goes off as normal, but saps your energy. You suffer 1 level of exhaustion. You suffer from the paralyzed condition for the next 1 rounds. The nearest flammable object not on your person catches fire. The object applicable to the individual holding it take 1d4 fire damage. The spell goes off as normal, but it targets you instead of its intended target. If originally cast on yourself, it affects the nearest sentient being. Magical energies twist around you when the power fades and you are petrified. You suffer from the petrified condition until cured. Ooh, that's not good. Increase your age by 2d20% of your current age. Game effects from age apply. A body part drops harmlessly off you. There is no blood or pain. Roll 1d10 to determine which part. Arm, hand, finger, leg, foot, toe, nose, lips, eye, or ear. Whoa. Must have corruption points because spell goes normal, but you suffer corruption. You feel your bones crack and your flesh twist. Your arms and legs switch position. The excruciating pain causes 5d6 damage. Still want to play a spellcaster in her lane? Attack rolls, use your glyph roll. Okay, essence point cost of spells. A glyph is formed with a bit of your core essence, but to create a spell effect, you must harness a far greater amount of essence. For a powerful amount, for the more powerful spell, essence required. An unmodified essence point to cast the spells based on level as shown below. So we don't have to reference like every individual spell for essence cost. So it's good this goes by level. That makes it at least a bit remember. So first level spells require 2 essence points. A 9th level spell requires 13. So if I remember, that meant that a first level caster gets back 1 essence point every 2 hours. That means that they could cast A first level wizard could cast a first level spell every 4 hours. And then it said that a second level caster getting one back every hour, so they'd be able to cast one every 2 hours. It's a lot better than in like second edition AD&D, where you could cast one first level spell a day. Without casting, yes. The application of power must be precise. Certain conditions may modify the actual cost of the spell. The cost listed in the spell essence point cost is called the unmodified cost. This is the base cost to cast. Variable spell levels. Some 5th edition spells allow you to choose the level at which you are casting the spell. A magic missile is one-shot spell. When casting a spell this type, use the essence point cost at the level you're casting it. Makes sense. So we're out of essence points. Let's see what happens there. If the essence point cost of the spell reduce, if the essence point cost of the spell reduce your essence points below 0, you can still cast the spell, but you must force it. When you force a spell, you reduce your essence points to 0 and then take hit points of damage equal to the number of points you are short. You are, in effect, siphoning off the core essence that makes up your living spirit. The following are the rules for forcing a spell. You have disadvantage on your spellcasting check. You take a number of hit points of damage equal to the number of points you're short. All normal game effects from taking damage apply, including the rules for dropping to 0 hit points. If circumstances, such as a spell mishap result, increase the essence point cost of a spell to where the essence point cost is greater than your available essence point, pay the cost as if you had forced the spell. Okay, overcasting. Casting spells beyond your safe level. You may attempt to cast spells. I wonder if this means also if you have 0. Like, if you have no essence points left, can you choose to force it anyway? Because this says, like, I was reading this, if it's going to cost you 3, but you only got 2 left, you could force it, and you'd have to pay 1 hit point and do all of that. And if you have 0, could you just force it and pay 3 hit points? Overcasting. Casting spells beyond your level. You may attempt to cast spells that are higher than your maximum spell level. The following rules apply. You must have learned the spell and have it copied into your spell book. You must have your spell book out for reference. This is a requirement, and it does not provide additional advantage as it normally does. You have disadvantage on the spellcasting check. The essence point cost of the spell is doubled, although you may still use the unmodified cost to determine the spellcasting DC. If the spell mishap doubles essence point cost, multiply the modified essence point cost. For each level of difference between the spell level you can safely cast and the level of spell you are casting, increase the critical failure range by 1. Got an example of casting at a high level. Essence, Sense, and Sight. I like those spellcasting rules. Mark, I don't know if you're listening. I haven't seen you in the chat. But I like those spellcasting rules. I think we're about to wrap up. But this was a great interest. There's so many things to look at with so many different there we go. And things like that. I'm glad I took the time. These books have been sitting on my shelf for a while. It kind of makes me want to import those spellcasting rules into any type of 5th edition game I'd be playing. I'd want to play with them if I were playing a spellcaster again. What do you think? Let me know. And let Mark know. I'm sure he's set up, he's got social media and stuff like that for Aetaltis. If you like it, please let Matt know as well. All right, I got to think about my big rocks for the day. So if you're new here, let me put the Discord server link out so that if you are new here or you are just finding us, we can welcome to be part of the Discord server. And I got to think about there's too many things going on. So I'm really have to think about my big rocks. If you're new, the last thing we do at the end of the day is plan our day and try to figure out what would actually make for us. And we use that using the index card. So I got to think about mine here. So here we go.
Well, I manage my department, and I've been doing that for several years now.
Your department's just you, right?
Yes, Jim, but I am not easy to manage.
If you would like to join in on being more productive with me and everyone else here on the stream, but are in need of a system to help you out, here's an easy system that you can adopt and that I recommend. Grab a sheet of paper. I find that an index card folded in half is the perfect size for this. But if you don't have an index card, no problem. Any scratch piece of paper will work just fine. Just grab it and a pen or pencil. Think for a moment and come up with the 3 things that if you were to accomplish them today, you would know and feel that it was a great day. I bet you can take a breath right now and think for just a moment, and you will know what those 3 things are. We're going to call these 3 items our big rocks. Our objective is to move these big rocks during the day. Now, don't make the rocks too big because then you can't move them. Rocks that are too big to move in about a third of a day, we call those huge rocks. Moving the huge rocks is our major multi-day goals in life. But in order to move them, we have to break up the huge rocks into big rocks that we can actually pick up and move around. But we don't want these rocks to be too small, because although small rocks are easy to move, we don't feel sufficient accomplishment when we move them. Moving the big rocks makes us feel accomplished because they advance us toward our objectives in significant ways. You decide what size tasks are small, big, and huge rocks for you. If you get all 3 of these tasks done, then go ahead and add a 4th or a 5th big rock. But don't do that unless you've finished your big 3. You want to look at your list at the end of the day and feel success and accomplishment. You can use your phone for this if you want to, but I think a sheet of paper is better because then you don't have to pick up your phone to check your list of big rocks and potentially get sucked into all the distraction on your phone. The phone will also let you put 20 or 30 things on the list, no problem. Half an index card will keep this tight and focused. I know there are dozens of things on my to-do list on my computer, and that's too much. This method allows me to extract what I really need to do during the day and focus on that. If you're already using a productivity method that you like, no problem, use that. Do what works for you. Now let's write down our big rocks and try to get them done between now and the wind down live stream in the evening. That's where we check in, see how we did, celebrate success, and see how we can improve tomorrow. If you need encouragement during the day, look to the Raven Keep Discord server. It's a great and constructive community. Let's take over the Geekverse. Stray says thumbs up. Thumbs up. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to looking at more of the world of Aetaltis. It seems really interesting. It would be great to be able to play a game in it too. Maybe we'll come up with some way to do that. Working on that. All right, so I got I'm not going to pull up the auxiliary camera because who knows, that won't work the way things are going today. But I've got to update the morning messages. I had to do that anyway because there was a problem with them. I got to send that back to World Anvil. YouTube was having a problem with them, and now I think it was the browser that caused our problem this morning, or other things. But I need to check that to make sure it wasn't something that was like that we actually corrupted with the morning messages or something and threw us a loop. So I got to do that. I have got to develop. I've got to get back in touch with the World Anvil and then reach out to some other people about trying to sponsors for this and the other shows that we're trying to do. And when I was talking to World Anvil, I believe he said, he asked me, do you have any ideas for other shows that you're to do? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. You know, we've talked about, I think it was one night on the wind down. We're like, okay, now what type of shows we do? And so I've been trying to iterate those pilots here. And I was like, yeah, I do. I've got a bunch of ideas for other shows. And he was like, that's crazy insane. I was like, yes, it is, but we're going to try to get it done. And, you know, not all of them will go forward because we might decide we don't like some of them, or they don't work or like that. But I'm supposed to be writing and producing shows. So that's what I'm working on. So I need to get back in touch with them. I've got to clear my inbox again. I know I've got stuff about Terra Tiles and also the action figures in there. I've got to do that. And then I got to figure out what we're going to do on YouTube tonight. We're not ready to do a new pilot in the new format of Hero Quest. I'm not ready. I'm not going to be able to do that before this Friday. I do have some of the first season stuff that I re-edited and have never gotten back on YouTube. Like, got better audio for them, did some light edits of them to improve them. And so probably it might be a re-release of one of the season 1 Dinner and a Board Game episodes that is not currently out on YouTube. And I don't think that many people saw them anyway, so might do that. And might like paint during it on Friday or something like that, because I like having a big show on Friday. So it's been the cultists, so maybe it's time to turn to Dinner and a Board Game. All right, thank you for hanging with me today, especially through all the technical problems. I have enjoyed it. I thought that was great. I'm so glad that I went through the world of Aetaltis. Have a fantastic day. Drink water. I'll see you tonight for something, probably. Later.